This is the Morning Tailgate.
I'll just tell the Raider Nation that we have to earn your trust. We got to earn those seats in the stands by putting a great product on the field. Words will not do it. It's our actions.
With Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, and Clay Baker on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Grab a beverage or two and settle in. This is the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920, the flagship for the silver and black. Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker. Coming to you live from Las Vegas on a Thursday, July 23rd, 2026, and a happy Raiders Rookie Report Day ahead of Las Vegas's training camp. I'm not going to say we made it. I'm not going to say we're there. But what a day. What a milestone marker we are passing by on the highway to the regular season of the 2026 campaign.
Yeah, okay.
Something different in the air. Different feeling when that alarm went off this morning. Now, before we get to today, we have to talk about what happened to our own Vinny Bonsignor yesterday. Speaking of alarms.
Oh, boy.
Vinny, and I only want this brought up because I feel like it's a perfect segue for today and the anxiety that some of these first-year players may be feeling on a day like today.
Right.
But you had an experience I think all of us all know too well.
Yeah, so I don't exactly remember what time it is that I just decided to lay on the bed for a little while.
This is yesterday.
Yeah, what time did I text you guys?
It was about 8 o'clock.
Okay, yes. So
7:38, something like that.
7:30, yeah, because that's what I remember seeing was 7:39 on my clock. All right, so
8:04 was when
I was man enough to to admit what just happened.
Yeah,
or maybe I did it earlier than you. I just seen it. You had just seen it. But anyway, so I put my, you go to lay down. I was tired for some reason. I was pretty tuckered out yesterday. There was a lot going on. There is a lot going on, and it's all good. It is what it is. So I just decided to kind of chill for a little while on the bed, probably about 5 p.m. or so, 5:30 ish, And the next thing I know, I open my eyes and I look at, and it's kind of, dusky outside, but not dark. Definitely not dark, like it looks right now, basically, right?
Dusky.
And so I look at the clock and it says 7:39. I'm like, what? Oh my God! I thought it was 7:39 this morning. So I thought that I had already missed the 40 minutes of the show. That what's going on? How did this happen? I got to call Clay and Vince to apologize. And what's good? Then I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's just 7:39 in the evening, not in the morning. So I was, for a good 2 minutes, I'm like running into walls, basically tripping over myself, trying to get everything situated, dressed, all of that to hit. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Golly, that was first of all,
terrifying.
What a terrifying 2 minutes, but what a relief it was when I figured out.
Yeah, how good it feel going back into bed.
Which is exactly what I did. I was like, I got 9,000 hours to be able to just chill here right now if I want, even though I still had work to do, so I had to get up and do that. But man, what a so anxious moments, and we can only imagine what it is for a bunch of young kids, Jermon McCoys of the world, Trey Zune, everybody that's part of that rookie class that probably spent a restless night last night thinking about the official start of their new journey as members of the Raiders, trying to make their mark in the NFL. And it has to all start somewhere. And yes, there was the offseason. Yes, there were OTAs and all that, and that's definitely part of the starting point. But it's training camp now. This is what you dream about. This is what you think about. This is what you've been preparing the entire offseason for now since you signed your contract or got drafted, heard your name, called on draft night. And I can only imagine the nervousness and how they're feeling. And hopefully for them, none of them experience what I experienced. experience yesterday.
Yeah, that's an absolutely terrifying feeling. I think everyone can relate to something like that. I think I've told the story on this show. My first job in TV was in San Angelo, Texas, and it might have been my third, fourth day. I overslept my alarm.
You did? Oh, this was a real thing?
This is a real thing.
Oh, you really? Okay.
Like, overslept, hit the snooze, whatever, on my own, away from home. 2 hours? I like good hour and a half to 2
hours that you didn't have.
Yeah, and I did what you did, running into walls, tripping over everything. Just everything that should be fairly quick took exponentially longer. But when I got to the station, and I didn't even still know 90% of the people's names. I'm really sorry. My apartment complex, the entire power.
Hi,
went out.
Jill. Hi, Bill.
Yeah, I said
Hi,
the
Ralph.
entire apartment complex, the power went out, and my alarm didn't go.
Yeah.
I was hoping for some kind of sympathy, and what's worse, not only did I not get sympathy, it was like, okay, not a big deal, whatever.
Like, huh? You're late?
Like,
I don't know.
What do you mean? You should be very upset with me right now. Like, that was my...
Vince, did the power really go out?
Absolutely not. I snoozed my alarm.
But what's worse is that nobody knew or cared if you were there or not.
That's what I mean. Like, it was just like, okay, he's here. What are you gonna do? I go, I don't know. Where do I go? Yeah, that's why I now set no less than 15 alarms.
One of the
on my phone.
One of the funniest stories that I can remember that I was part of something along these lines was, you know how like if you cover basketball, if you cover the Major League Baseball, there's basically games every night, right? The hockey, there you go, hockey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the players have to be in the locker room by a certain period of time, right? Like if it's a 7:00 game, you got to be there 4:30, 5 o'clock, whatever it is, right? So. With the Lakers back in the day, and this was when Luke Walton was on the team, so that era, those years with Kobe and everything like that, the Lakers assistant coach that was in charge of making sure everybody was on time is looking for Luke. Luke it's starting to get to that moment where hey, where is he? Because you know how it is, if you're not early, you're late basically. Right. So it was a good 15 minutes before the cutoff point where you get fined and all that kind of stuff. So he comes in and thankfully Luke had texted some of his teammates. I think Lamar Odom was in on this one. And Lamar, every time the guy came in, Lamar kept saying, yeah, he's in the restroom, or yeah, he's over, knowing that Luke was actually making a speed race to Staples Center to get there, right? Because he had something had happened or got caught in traffic or whatever. So the coach keeps coming in and his teammates always had a nice excuse for him. Oh, okay, I must have missed him, So all right, tell him to come see me when he gets here. So finally, maybe about 30 seconds, a minute before the actual deadline, here comes Luke just barreling in, right? I mean, he's like sweating, he's like, huffing and puffing. So it turned out that he overslept. There was a traffic jam. It's Los Angeles, and he goes, I may or may not have broken some laws. Maybe I got up on a sidewalk at some point, trying so, and he's just he ended up giving some guys some hugs. Thank you so much, because it wasn't, it's not the worst fine in the world, but you don't want to be that guy.
You don't want to be that guy. That's the thing. Exactly. You don't want to be that guy. And a day like today for the Raiders rookies, definitely that is not a guy you want to be early. Especially
better to be early
on a day, because this is not just a normal rookies report to camp day or year. Max Crosby, part of the reporting participants today, as he works his way back from injury. Seems like he's going to be close, if not full go, for training camp when practice begins next week, which is just got to be music to the nation's ears. And also, I want to kind of dive into this a little bit. We're going to have to talk about Fernando again. Still no contract signed. Vinny, we'll get to that in a second. But Clay, it's one thing when all the rookies report, right? Like, there's a reason they get to come in early to kind of not get overwhelmed, right? Drink out of the fire hose, as everyone likes to talk about.
Find their way.
Find their way. Find their find as smooth of a process in as they can before all the big dogs and the other dogs start barking, so to speak.
That's
right?
a good idea. I mean, let the moment sink in for a little bit and get your feet wet.
But it feels like it's kind of all for naught on a day like today if the condor is swooping in. And as we saw more than 2 hours ago, Max Crosby tweeting his daily morning mantra. What did he say this morning? Go time. And that was 2 hours ago. I'll give you the exact time here. 4:41 a.m. He texts, tweets X's go time, which means he was either in the parking lot of the facility or leaving his home, texting that, meaning he's already there. So, Vinny, to your point, if you're not early, you're late. By Max Crosby's time, all the rookies are already late, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that's he definitely doesn't expect everyone to be a maniac like he is, but you also don't want to be the lagger as well. And I remember Alec Ingold told me that he realized that people were watching him as an undrafted free agent, as a rookie, every minute that basically he was in the building. So he kind of dawned on him, like, not in a bad way, but you're getting sized up right now. This is the first day of, again, it's the let's say there was summer school. You remember summer school? You went for a couple periods, had some fun, took wood shop, whatever. Yeah, sometimes you had. Oh, Vince, you might have had to. I may have.
I did real work.
Yeah. I may have had to take a couple math classes in the summer.
Yeah, all those tardies. Yeah, you could only use that apartment, went out of power once.
Right. So there has been summer school, but this is really the first official day of school, and the freshman class gets there a little bit earlier to get acclimated. But the point being is that you want to be on your P's and Q's. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to present yourself as somebody that cares, as somebody that's a professional. So and there are other people, because here's the thing: if you're Max Crosby, if you're Ashton whoever. You want to know, can I rely on this guy? And it's vice versa. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to in a lot of ways. Are you somebody that is going to be able to be trusted to be on this journey with us? Can I trust you? Are you going to show up? Are you going to work? Are you going to put the work in? And there's no. This is not for the faint of heart either. You're going to get called out if you're not. There's leaders on that football team that are going to be watching you and sizing you up, and if there's some things that you're doing that don't sit well, you're going to hear about it. That's just the way life works, and it's not just exclusive to an NFL locker room, but it's a little bit more pronounced in that kind of a setting. So for all of those guys, and I don't expect any of them to be any bit of a problem or anything like that. Just understand, as Alec told me, I don't care whether you're in the weight room, in the classroom, how you're interacting with your teammates during a break, during lunch, in the cafeteria. Always remember that you are being assessed right now, because they are deciding, somebody is deciding, and it's multiple people, whether or not you're worthy of being part of this journey. And it's not just what you do on the field either. It's a lot. Some of it is how you're interacting. What's the energy that you're bringing? Are you sucking the energy out of a room, or are you providing energy to that room? Nobody wants somebody that you got to deal with like a diva every single day, and it's just draining everybody to deal with you. Don't be that guy. Be somebody that breathes energy into the room, because those are the type of guys that you want to rally with, and you want to be a part of the journey. And
I think for Max, he's very enthused not only to have Rob Leonard as a defensive coordinator, but I think he's looking around the room, especially during mini camps, and there's a lot of new bodies here, a lot of new faces. This is really a group of guys that are very talented, especially all the rookies that were coming in. So I think for him, he's kind of looking around and saying, I'm going to take the most of this moment and also continue to be a leadership and lead by example. And I think Rob Leonard really loves that, but also on a day and a moment when the rookies are coming in, having that guy that's going to be kind of like leading the way by example, showing up early, showing what it takes, staying late. This is the kind of guy that you want around the rookies at this point of the year.
He's also got a massive chip on his shoulder. Let's not forget that. Things happened this offseason that didn't sit well with him, that, no fault of his own put him in a certain light, and certain people were questioning him, and to the point where they're like, hey, we would have loved to have you, but, we're sending you back to Las Vegas. That, trust me, doesn't sit well with Max Crosby, and he's out to prove a whole lot of people wrong, including a team that wears purple back there in Baltimore. So he's somebody that his fire and furnace is burning extremely hot right now, and I think that's going to serve him well. Not that he needs it, because he's somebody his furnace is always an inferno, basically. But we all know that these guys, any little thing that they can get to give them a little bit of extra motivation is fuel best used and best utilized. And so he's on a mission this year, and it's obvious because look at where he decided that this was going to be his starting point for training camp long before the veterans show up. So it kind of gives you an idea of how the fire that's in his belly, how intently that thing is burning right now.
And that fire is always burning, right? And because of the situation he's in, the status quo, right? Like, what happened early in the offseason is still not lingering, but because of his stature, because of the circumstance around him has not changed, right? The Raiders are still in a slow build up. That is always still going to be there. It's not like he can just, all right, that's in the rear view. As much as he would like to probably put that in the rear view mirror, it's always going to be there. There's always going to be a national conversation. We'll have conversations about it here, which is only going to continue that fuel, that motivation, that chip. And for a guy who doesn't need more chips, he's got plenty of them to choose from in terms of what he wants to use for motivation. It's going to be fascinating to see what he does in the regular season, because we know what he's going to look like in training camp. He's going to be an absolute game wrecker. He's going to ruin days for the offense single-handedly. He's going to ruin periods single-handedly during training camp. We know that. I'm looking forward to see what it looks like, and then how it bleeds into the rest of Rob Leonard's defense, and how much of a flag in the sand type thing Rob Leonard is relying on him and leaning on a Max Crosby in order to not just get the message out, because I'm less worried about messaging. I'm more worried about execution, because again, how many times we don't know what really it's going to look like on defense.
Yeah, and we also don't know yet, what Max is going to look like right now. Like what level of participation early on. We've seen enough of him over the years that he is a practice wrecker. He wrecks practices. Period! Exclamation point. But I am curious and not to say that he's not still capable of doing that. I firmly believe that and more. I'm just wondering to start off with, at least, what kind of green light are they going to give him? And I'm talking about the medical staff, the training staff. What kind of green light are they going to give him to start off with? Or is it going to be a little bit more of a, what do you call it, the caution flag in a race, and let him kind of amp back up? Max is super smart, so he understands, what's at stake and how he has to proceed and how he has to, maybe manage himself. But he's somebody that, he wants to be 100%. I mean, he wants to go at 100 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour, ASAP. So the training staff is either going to be there to say, hey, Max, hold off just a little bit. We're getting there. You'll get there, but we still need a little bit of time. Or is it, Max, go be Max Crosby? So curious to see what that looks like once training camp officially opens next week.
So 702-365-9200. The question we'll ask today, what day 3 or later rookie are you most excited for heading into training camp, and why? So we've talked a lot about Fernando. We've given a lot of oxygen to Trayton Stukes. We've talked Key Crawford, Trezun, things. But when we talk day 3 or later, there's some options there that could be. There's one notable who signed yesterday. and Jermon McCoy. We're going to get to him on the other side, but before we do, Vinny, we talked about it yesterday. We talked about it the day before. Fernando Mendoza remains unsigned. What is the status? What is the holdup? What is the issue as it presents at this time, knowing at any moment it could change?
Yeah, a little bit of this is some assuming, but I think we're on safe ground in the assumption because, again, to explain the way contracts work now, you're wherever you're drafted, that's where you're slotted. There's really no wiggle room for any more money. Where you get drafted, he was drafted number 1 overall. There is a financial figure to that doesn't deviate. Then the second pick gets what he gets, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the last pick, of the draft. It's all predetermined. So, and in his case, he's going to get a big signing bonus, and what the assumption is that there's a couple of different ways that teams handle the signing bonus. Some teams are totally fine with, here's your signing bonus, you get the entire amount at signing. So you put your pen to the paper. A couple days later, you look in your bank account, and there was a direct deposit for the entirety of the signing bonus, short a bunch of taxes, and that's always shocking to a lot of players when they see, whoa, what happened there? I thought I was getting this. Yeah, Uncle Sam took his cut. So, but anyway, some teams are completely fine with paying that out at the time of signing. Other teams, and the Raiders have historically been one of these, the Rams have been a team like this, which is why their quarterback, first-round pick, Ty Simpson, hasn't signed. Other teams, they call chop it up a little bit, and they pay it out typically in 3 payments, one at the time of signing, then a month, whatever period of time elapses, here comes your second payment, and then a certain point, all within reason. It's not like it's 3 years down the road. It's all within months or so. Then you get your final payment for your signing bonus. That's part of it. And then there's also void years. Let's just say player X, who is drafted with the 3rd pick overall, gets cut in a couple of years, right? If you don't have the void years, and if the entirety of the contract is guaranteed, if you get cut, you can kind of double dip. What it means is you're still going to get paid that salary from the team that cuts you, and then you're also going to get paid by the new team that signs you if you get signed by somebody else. So there's that going on, and there's different ways of looking at that as well. So it's not about the money, it's not about the amount, it's about that signing bonus and when it all gets paid out, and then also the void year part of it as well.
So not if, but when Fernando
and again,
Mendoza,
we're assuming there's really nothing else that it could be.
So when Fernando Mendoza does put pen to paper and that contract, we will bring it to you here on the flagship for the Silver and Black. But coming up, 702-365-9200. We want to hear from you. Raiders rookies report today, including one Fernando Mendoza. What day 3 picks from the Raiders rookie class and beyond are you most excited about to watch, to hear about, to talk about this training camp as we head into the 2026 regular season? 702-365-9200. Want to get your thoughts, want to get your calls. Coming up, but first...
Hey guys, are you craving Mexican food that's been done right for years and years and years and is as good as it gets wherever you might be? Well, I've got the place for you. It's Sal's Mexican Restaurant, and it's a Central Valley tradition since 1942. We're talking about the kind of food, Vince, and I know you love this kind of stuff, that keeps people coming back. Stacked burritos, sizzling fajitas, legendary enchiladas, and those award-winning tamales that everybody's talking about. And here's the best part. Whether you're in Selma, Madera, or Fresno, Sal's has a location ready for you. Plus, Raider Nation, listen up. Sal's is all about the silver and black. So game day, fight night, anytime, this is your spot. Can't make it in? No problem. You could get Sal's delivered straight to your door wherever you are. You just go to salsmexicanrestaurant.com. That's salsmexicanrestaurant.com and place your order right now. They'll deliver it to you wherever you are. Don't wait. Don't settle. Sal's Mexican Restaurant, a tradition, flavor, and Raider pride served up fresh every single day.
Vince, Vinny, and Clay want to hear from you. Call or text the show at 702-365-9200. Now, back to the Morning Tailgate.
First down at the 42. Dante Moore, plenty of time. Deep. Got a man on the run. Touchdown. Benson for the score.
How about that? A Malik Benson touchdown. Vinny, do you know what that music was leading into the Malik Benson touchdown?
I was listening, and it's very familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
I couldn't have even formulated a guess, but Clay?
Oh, you know what? Benson.
Benson. Robert Guillaume and Benson on ABC.
Which started from Soap.
Right?
Which started from Soap, the great show Soap. Clay, I know you
Clay,
know
well
Soap.
done.
So.
Well done, Clay. Look at that.
Yeah, I love that show. And then he was the butler
Soap?
to the governor, and then eventually he became the governor of California.
Oh, my gosh.
Arnold? Schwarzenegger? Was in that?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny how that kind of worked as an inspiration.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
Vince, Soap was a ground-breaking show. It was literally a spoof on a soap opera, but it was in prime time. Mm-hmm. And they went up to every Clay.
Billy Crystal got his debut there. He won't talk about that show.
Yeah.
Because of the character he played. That's one of the no-goes. You can't ask him those questions.
They pushed every single line that you could possibly push, and it was fantastic.
The woman who created that show wrote the entire first year. All the episodes she wrote. She was brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know why Billy Crystal. To me, it was a great character with the ventriloquist and the
Yes. Tom Hanks doesn't like talking about bosom buddies either. So what are you gonna do?
That's crazy to me too.
Yeah.
702-365-9200 is the number. The question of the day 3 picks from the Raiders Raiders draft. Which rookies and from day 3 and beyond are you most excited for during training camp? Now, day 3 obviously provides quite a bit of options for the Silver and Black and Raider Nation to choose from. Jermon McCoy, who signed his rookie deal yesterday afternoon, full go in terms of being able to participate. We'll see what the plan is for Jermon McCoy. I know that is a popular name in terms of a guy who was a first-round talent. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on what he is doing, how much he is doing, et cetera, et cetera. But even beyond that, our buddy Gage up on the text line gives us a fantastic 1, 2, 3 list, and I really like the way he orders it, too. So Gage says Zeke Massis bringing that ball hawking ability to the NFL. Malik Benson bringing that special teams ability and speed to the special teams. And number 3, Mike Washington. When your number is called, show him you can get more carries and spare Genty some drives. I would love to dive deep on all 3 of these guys. But I want to start with Benson, not just because of the TV show music and the touchdown call, but he is a guy that I watched with my own eyes during OTAs make play after play, right? And again, it was 1 day of 1 week, 3 separate times that we got to see it, but that's what I saw because I said this during OTAs. I kept having to be like, who's number 19? Who's number 19? As I'm still learning the names, and inevitably it was Malik Benson time and time again. And it wasn't just Malik Benson catching passes from Fernando. It was from AOC, and at times, even a Kirk Cousins. Depending on how that rotation was going, whatever it may be. I'm not digging into that. I'm just simply saying, regardless of who was throwing the ball, he was making catches. He was generating space and showing off his hands. So, albeit OTAs, no pads, things of that nature, but that was a guy that jumped off the field, at least to me, in our little pocket of the window that we got.
Yep, Malik Benson, a 6th-round pick from Oregon. A really interesting backstory. He was a star in junior college. I want to say Hutchinson Junior College, kind of one of those historic places. Ends up going to Alabama as one of the top, junior college wide receivers in the country. Goes to Alabama. Nick Saban is the coach. Played there in 2023. Played in 14 games. Caught 13 passes, 162 yards. It was a stacked Alabama team. He's sort of on his way. but time is ticking because he played, junior college football. Nick Saban leaves, retires, so Malik hightails it to Florida State, where he spent 2024, caught 25 passes for 311 yards. Obviously, a little bit of improvement from the year before, but for whatever reason, wasn't quite working out there. He ends up at Oregon last year, and this is where he really turned the corner. 15 games, 43 catches, 719 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Playing again on a stacked football team, but it really started turning around for him last year. That's when he started putting the pieces together to really get on the NFL radar in a big way. Would have been really interesting to see what he could have done with one more year of college eligibility, and I think he would have built on those numbers and probably been an even higher pick next year. But because of the rules and everything else, now he's going to the NFL, and he didn't quite get into day 2 territory, and ended up being a 6th-round pick. But I think based on the journey and what he did last year, he's a player that turned the corner and is poised now to keep building off of that momentum. So I like the player. I like the skill set. He's fast. He's big enough. He went to some blue blood schools that obviously wanted him, whether you're talking about Alabama and Florida State and then Oregon. Obviously, you're talking about 3 of the 3 premier programs, especially Alabama and Oregon, and was able to, like I said, put it all together last year. So he might be on the come here, and definitely, without question, showed some of that momentum during OTAs and was a player that stood out. And now there's a role for him. We don't know who that third wide receiver is going to be for the Raiders. Could be Jack Besh, could be Dante Thornton, could be Malik Benson, could be a combination of all 3. But I would say keep an eye on Malik Benson because he opened some eyes during OTAs and minicamp, and if he continues to build off of that, he's going to work his way into a role as a rookie.
I love during the draft process where Steve Smith actually kind of like campaigned for Benson because he loved the fact that he was a raw prospect coming in and out of Florida State, but he realized and looked at how he refined his game, and he's not just a finesse runner, even though there is track speed on the field when he's out there, but he became a lot stronger and has a physical strength about him that made him more NFL ready, according to Steve Smith. So I love when Steve Smith talks because he doesn't give glowing remarks about anybody unless he feels strongly about it, and he felt that way about Malik Benson.
And just to give you some kind of idea in terms of stature, when you look out on the field, he's one of the smaller guys. But Trey Tucker's 5'8". I think he's listed 185. Malik Benson is listed 6'1", 195.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I think there was a belief, or not belief, but just a narrative like, oh, he's a smaller guy. Well, actually, he's
small,
pretty built. He's not just, as you pointed out, not just a speed, not just a finesse guy. So this guy has a toolkit that could, as Vinny said, that number 3 spot is right now up for grabs. Jack Besh is probably the leader at this point, but that's what training camp's for. That's what all this is for, to see who can rise to the top, because as we've talked about many times, that wide receiver is far from a finished product, and that is going to be an ever-evolving position group. What it looks like at the start of training camp most likely will not be what it looks like at the end of this season, depending on the progress, the productivity, and the evolution of some of those guys in that room.
Yeah, and 4.3, 740 speed at the combine. That doesn't lie. You go back to his time at Hutchinson Community College. After he played there 2021, 2022, posted up some ridiculous numbers and was literally the number 1 ranked JUCO prospect coming out of the JUCOs that particular year. That's why he ended up at Alabama. So. It just feels like the best football now is ahead of him, and he's got incredible tools. So we'll see if he's able to put it together and again build off the momentum that he created for himself last year. And based on what we saw during the spring, there's every reason to believe that he's doing exactly that.
Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about the running back position in one of those day 3 draftees. Mike Washington here in a second, but right now we got to do a little summer of fun. There it is. This music just wants me to get walking, which is a good thing to do for this week's summer fun trip. the theme parks in SoCal, Disneyland, Universal, whole bunch of steps getting in if you are lucky enough to win the summer fun trip to the Disneyland Universal theme park. Trips, 3-night stay in Anaheim. All you got to do is text in the keyword of the day. The keyword of the day on this Thursday, July 23rd, freedom. Text in the word freedom, F-R-E-E-D-O-M. Freedom is the word of the day. Might be what Max Crosby's feeling as he reports to rookie camp today. He's feeling a little bit of that freedom, like he's back. Football is back. We are here. 702-365-9200. Text in the word freedom. You are entered for a chance to win the Summer of Fun trip to SoCal. Provided by our friends right here, Raider Nation Radio 920 and Terribles. This is the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920.
Yeah, let me see if I can go whip that up real quick.
We'll take your comments and questions on X. Follow us at RNR920AM. Let's dig into the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920.
You know, I think when I look back, you know, Mike Shanahan had a line early in my career where he would say, tough times don't last, tough people do. And at the time, I had some challenges, you know, in football in the past too, but I don't think I fully knew what that meant. And I think I've had to live it, you know, getting benched a couple times, tearing an Achilles, changing teams. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes on the field, had a lot of success. And so you learn what it means to just get back on the horse each day and keep going, and to not quit, not give up, keep trying to find a way until the mission is accomplished. And, you know, you have to be tough to do that. And so that would be my message to any young player is, hey, you're going to get punched in the mouth in this league. It's what makes it such a great league, is that it's, you know, nobody's immune. It's tough. But if you're a tough person, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically, you know, you'll find yourself still standing, you know, maybe a decade plus later. And so that would kind of be my message.
Coach Haynes, Kirk Cousins, talking about what he will be and has already discussed, talked about messaging to the rookies, how to learn, how to assimilate, how to get up to speed at the NFL level. Welcome back in, everybody. It's the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. We're asking, what day 3 rookies and or beyond are you most excited for, looking forward to, hearing about, talking about, watching during training camp? Now, Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Raiders, will be joining us in hour number 2. Paul Gutierrez in hour number 3. Looking forward to hearing what those fine gentlemen have to say. And I wonder, you guys are going to have to do the heavy lifting with old Horowitz, keeping him on the rails, because unfortunately I will have to exit stage left. It is that time of year where things get busy, Clay. I'm sorry. The Raiders.
What season isn't busy for you?
I'm actually heading to Allegiant Stadium to do some shoots with the Raiders. We got some fun stuff we're working on, not only at Fox 5, but the Raiders as well. So I got to head over to Allegiant Stadium here in just a little bit. So you got to make sure Horowitz stays on track. Training camp's around the corner. There's no time. There's no more cleaning basements, talking Power Rangers like we've done in the last few weeks. So we got to keep him on his P's and Q's. Also, I had a dream that Paul Gutierrez changed his last name. So I need you to check in to see if he did that. I know he's probably listening. And he's probably like, what? Yeah, I found out he changed his last name in a dream at some point. I want to know why he did it. So those are the hard questions you have to ask as we ask the difficult questions.
Can we ask you a question? What did he change his name to?
I'm trying to remember. If I can remember what it was. Oh, it was something not close to anything you would think of. Like, it was like 2 first names, like Paul Mark. or something like that.
Right.
Again, I don't know what the context is. I was like, who's Paul Mark? He's like, oh, that's me. I changed my name. Why? I don't know. What?
Boy, these dream sequences for you. You need to get back on a vacation to get all this stuff purged out.
I would ask Vinny what he dreamed about when he fell asleep last night, but it sounds like it was like 30 seconds. He fell asleep. He just fast forwarded through REM 1, REM 2.
Right, exactly.
But so rookies reporting today, day 3 picks. You know, Zeke Masses was the guy Gage talked about on the text line that he was most excited for. And, for all the love, and rightfully so, Trayton Stukes, second-round pick. Dalton Johnson kind of gets thrown with Trayton Stukes a little bit because, best friends, teammates, things of that nature. But Zeke Massis is another guy that I remember watching, and I'm not going to pretend like I saw him make a bunch of plays during OTAs, but what I do remember seeing from him was the amount of talking he was doing on the sidelines. And this isn't just talking like you're in the schoolyard. This is like talking to a lot of the vets, the Jeremy Chins, the Isaiah Palomaus of the world, the Eric Stokes on the sidelines. And I'm watching him ask questions, point things out while the second team, third team, whoever was out there doing things. And this is a guy not just absorbing information, but begging for the information. So I saw a lot of that on the sidelines, but I know he got rave reviews when he was on the field.
Yeah, and it's interesting looking. I always like to look at the backstory of all these players, and we talked a little bit about Malik Benson, Zeke Massis, a guy that was played a lot of football for 3 years at Florida International from 2022 to 2024. Ended up at Cal last year, going to the ACC, a step up in play, and went out there and played really good in Berkeley. Ended up with 47 tackles, career 152 tackles. He's got a career 7 interceptions, including 5 last year. That's really where he turned the corner at Cal, was the ball hawking ability. The one thing that the Raiders need to see from him is physicality. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but playing his position, you're not just running out there and defending people in the pass game. You have to be physical. You have to be a good tackler. You have to be willing to participate in that part of the game, and that's, I think, the big question for him now, going from shorts, and shoulder pads and a helmet to full on, physical play. Whether it's in the limited way that they do that during training camp, but clearly where he's going to be able to show that part of it in a full way is during the preseason. So if he can, if that part of his game is there for him, and he shows that willingness to be a tough physical football player, in addition to the ball hawking and everything else, the kind of savvy way that he plays cornerback, and showed that in college, then he's got a chance to be somebody that fights his way into, at the very least, a rotational player this year. But that's on him now, and they liked what they saw. Clearly, he was somebody that from day one, hitting up people, hey, who should I keep an eye on? Who's opening eyes? He was always, every single time mentioned, and this is by multiple people, about how impressed people in the building were about Zeke, and so now it's time for him to go do it when the pads come on.
Not a small guy, 6'1", 185, so has the body, the stature to do exactly what you're talking about, that he has to be physical. He's got to go do it, obviously. Again, that's the whole point.
Yeah, and it's not one of those 6'1" chiseled. It's a little bit of a slight build, if we can say that about a 6'1", 185 pounder. It's not that kind of explosive looking dude necessarily, which is why there's some questions. All right, are you going to be able to be tough enough at this level? Not to say that he can't. It's just that there's certain guys that you look at, like McCoy. He looks like he's chiseled. He's everything. He's
listed 6 foot 193, but yeah, there's
just 7 more
difference.
pounds.
Look, yeah, yes. But that is a difference. Greedy Vance, 5'9", listed 177.
Yeah, he's right.
So that's a slight guy, speed guy. So again, what I'm saying is the stature is there. He's just got to go out and be able to now use that functionality of the stature into what the Raiders are hoping is a physical guy that can also be a ball
physical enough.
Plays.
Let's put it that way.
And I'm curious to see what he can do during training camp, how he can work his way up. Maybe not necessarily the depth chart, but to your point, that rotation. Is he more than just a special teams guy early? Is he a special teams guy to start, and he works his way throughout the season? That's going to be. I'm curious what his starting point is. Right.
Yeah, and what I love about him is. he plays with a calmness about him, but it's not like a lazy calmness whatsoever. He knows what he's doing out there, and sometimes that is half the battle, and that allows him to play with real confidence. So I love that part about him, and I think that hopefully for him he'll overcome whatever questions there are about the physicality.
The voice of the Raiders, Jason Horowitz, joins us next here in the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio.
When you hear his voice, you know it's time to talk silver and black.
He climbs, he floats down the field. He's got his man at the 5, into the end zone. Touchdown Raiders! It's a miracle in Las Vegas!
Hey folks, how are ya? It's the voice of the Raiders, Jason Horowitz, on the Morning Tailgate.
Welcome back to Raider Nation Radio 920, the Morning Tailgate. Hour 2 rolling on. Get your thoughts up on the phones and text line at 702-365-9200. Here on this beautiful and perfect Thursday, Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, Vince Sapienza heading to Allegiant Stadium, getting ready for the promos on Fox 5 Vegas. But joining us now is the voice of the Raiders. As we've outlined before, born and raised in Detroit area, Syracuse educated, a William Randolph Hearst finalist. And now through Fox, through Westwood One, through the Raiders, here with us today, and on a day that is more special than others, it's Jason Horowitz's birthday. Welcome back to the show, Jason. Thank you so much, and happy birthday to you.
That's the best birthday song I've gotten so far.
Aww.
That's so much better than your usual happy birthday to you. This is so much better. I also like the Beatles one, right? They say it's your birthday. No, that's always a good one.
That is a good one.
That's always a good one. Thank you, boys. How are you?
Fantastic, and happy birthday. Absolutely, no doubt about it.
And, man, so what's it like for you now? Because you've got all the cleaning done, all the chores are done. This is your day. How does your day start and end for your birthday? Because this has got to be the one where it's like, even when I was married and in the house, if it was my birthday, I'd still be like the 5th most important person in the house. But today, it's Jason Horowitz's day in the house.
You know what? The kids are very excited about. Like, I've never been one who's like, this is going to sound crazy. I realize what I'm about to say because of what I do for a living. I never really like attention. and for some reason my birthday has always bothered me. But Karen said to me yesterday, she's like, the kids are really excited. You have to be excited. I'm like, okay. So like they woke up early. They're like, we want to give you your presents. And Sammy's like making a card. When I come downstairs, she's like drawing. She's like, how do you spell? She's asking me how to spell. She's 5. She's asking me how to spell happy birthday. So I'm giving her the letters. She's writing it out. She's like, well, you can't look at me while I'm doing it. I'm like, okay. So it was good. No, it's been good. The birthday, I got a T-shirt for my favorite coffee place here. I got they got me a Theragun. I went for a run to my favorite coffee place and sat there for a while. And, honestly, my favorite thing about my birthday is that, because of social media, everyone knows it's your birthday. So you get a lot of messages from people that you don't normally hear from. So even if you're just texting with people, my favorite thing about my birthday is that it's a way to reconnect with people you haven't talked to for probably 365 days, and I kind of like that.
Oh, good.
That is no doubt a good thing, and I'm with you on the whole birthday thing and drawing attention to yourself and all that good stuff. Which brings me to my question. Obviously, today is the day that the Raiders rookies report to camp, and this is a day that you don't want to draw attention to yourself. So in a bad way. So if you were a rookie NFL player, let's say one of the players with the Raiders, what time are you getting to the building to make sure that you're not drawing the bad kind of attention to yourself? Like, are you one of those guys that I got to get there a couple of hours early? I'm going to beat everybody to the punch. I'm not going to be the guy that shows up a little bit late. I'm going to make sure that I'm there and that everyone knows that I'm ready to go to work.
I mean, the reason I'm not a famous athlete is because my answer to that question is nope.
Man.
but if I were an athlete who was trying to make an NFL roster or expected to compete for a job on an NFL roster, yes, I would want to be there Now, I had a band director back in high school who was always like, on time is late, 5 minutes early is on time.
Exactly.
So like that was kind of like put into my head. But the reality is my parents were late for everything. So my life was kind of at odds over those two things.
Well, that's a moment in time where it's like, all right, you start to learn and you have to respect the fact, all right, rules are rules. But you also, in those formative days that you realize, all right, everyone's going to be a little different, so you got to play the game. But I think for the Raiders themselves, they're in a spot where there's a lot of rookies that have come into this fold that are expected to make impact. And I think like this rookie class is one in which, it's never good to have to rely on rookies, but I think these rookies have impact just because either they can compete for a start, or they're going to provide very helpful depth pieces.
Well, first of all, it's a big class, right? The Raiders had a lot of draft picks. They made some trades, so they got a couple more draft picks, right? The Tyree Wilson trade, trading down when they took Traden Stukes. So it was going to be a big class anyway, and it's a big class. Last year's was a big class, but last year, other than Ashton and Darian Porter, we didn't, until the end of the season when Caleb Rogers started the last 5 or 6 games, we didn't see most of them play at all. This year, I think we're all, and again, we'll put Fernando to the side. I think we all expect that we're going to see a lot of those players, right? Whether it's Stukes or McCoy or Massis, I think we expect to see the guys in the secondary. I think we all expect to see some Mike Washington. And I think a lot of people expect Trey Zune to compete for a starting job too. So not only are we you have a big class, you're expecting those guys to make an impact, and that's good and bad, right? It's bad because you don't have people in place who have made those impact in that spots where you feel confident before, but it's also providing hope, and it's good because you think these rookies can make an impact on a team that's trying to make roads in the AFC West.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's take Fernando out of the equation for 1 second, and let's fast forward to the middle of the season. Who are we talking about most among the rookies, and who is that player that maybe we're starting to think when you come on, in the middle of the week during the season, that we're starting to think about we need to come up with a nickname for this young player?
I think Traden Stukes is the guy. My initial thought is Jermod McCoy, and look, guys, there's going to be he signed yesterday, and there's a lot. I think as we talked about last week that we're going to follow with him because his story, his injury, his ability is something that was talked about so much during particularly the second day of the NFL draft. But certainly during the draft, and I think that's one that we're all going to point to. But Traden Stukes is someone they felt really confident in, and I think he is a guy kind of in that Kyle Hamilton mode where he can be put in a lot of different places to make some plays, and whether that's making tackles, whether that's plays on the ball, kind of like a Swiss Army knife type of defensive back. And I really am looking forward to seeing how they use him and B, what he can do.
It's funny to think like how, of a prized prospect he was, then eventually, kind of falls to the Raiders at the 101st pick. But this is somebody that can also provide not only good size, but his ability to locate the football, his press man ability. And that's something you don't normally see out of a lot of corners in college because that's not what they're asked to do.
Yeah. Jermod McCoy is such a... Look, he started his career out west, right, the Pac-12, and transferred to Tennessee, and had just such an immediate All-American impact right away. In this day and age of transfer portal and how college athletics are now, that's kind of why that happens, right? But it's not like he went from Weber State or Eastern Washington to Tennessee. He went from a middle-of-the-road Pac-12 school when the Pac-12 still existed and made an immediate impact in a much bigger, better conference. And so the buildup was there for what was going to be that year, and obviously he got hurt in the playoff and it never happened. But I think you get size, even with the injury, guys, and it was a pro day, so technically, quote-unquote, it's an unofficial 40 time. But even with his injury coming back. He still ran a 4.37.
Wow.
So he's got blistering corner speed to do what you just talked about with that press man coverage, and we're really looking forward to it, right? Rookies report today, veterans report on Tuesday, practice is Wednesday. I'm looking forward to being out there Thursday, Friday next week, and then the pads come on. Vinny, what's the first day of padded practice? Monday the 3rd, Tuesday the 4th?
Right around
you have the whole acclimation period.
Right, it's usually 4 days or so in. So
I think it's 5. I think it's 5 days of acclimation.
Okay, yeah. So right around there will be is when the pads come on, and that's what I was actually going to ask you when they do, and we get to that first 11 on 11 period where there's going to be some hitting out there. It's not necessarily tackling to the ground, obviously, but it will get much more physical. Where are your eyes going to go in that first 11 on 11 fully padded period?
Yeah, I don't know about you. I think we talked about this, but like my eyes when pads come on always go to the offensive defensive line, no matter what the storyline is. Just because, and maybe it's just because with the Raiders, my eyes have always gone there because we haven't had a settled offensive line in my 5 years as the announcer for this team.
Yeah,
my first year. Big storyline was kind of Jermaine Illuminor and how would he settle in, and there was kind of a question mark on the right side. My second year, because Josh Jacobs had such a good first year, my first year, he had such a good year. The offensive line was a benefit, but then it kind of became a little bit of a weaker spot. And the quarterback spot has been such a rotation since I got to Las Vegas that that's always storyline number one, right? It wasn't storyline year number one because Devontae Adams was there, and you assumed the offense would flourish with Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs and Devontae, and that happened sort of. And then since then, it's been Garoppolo and it's been Gardner and it's been Geno, and so and now it's Kirk or Fernando. So that, it has been storyline number one every year after my first year. But if the offensive line is not better than it has been the last 2 years, it doesn't matter who the signal caller is going to be. So it's got to be where the offensive line is, and can they protect?
It's Jason Horowitz here, the voice of the Raiders. It's his birthday today, so make sure you go on social media and wish him a happy birthday because he loves the attention. He's here with us on the morning tailgate on Raider Nation Radio. And getting the attention for you today on your birthday is a tantamount to kind of attention that JPJ is going to get in those first days of camp, especially when the pads come on, because this is the moment in time when you're asking for JPJ to finally put together a consistent year.
Can you guys get him to send me a birthday message?
Absolutely.
Is that what you guys are going to work on today?
Yeah. I think that's what it would be nice. I mean, he just got married, but this is priority number one.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, I would think so. It's a huge year for him, right? You come in as a rookie, you're a second-round pick, you're the Remington Trophy winner. Massive things are expected. He had the concussion issues in training camp his rookie year. He gets in there in the early part of the season. He's playing. He's got a lot of emotions, but there's a lot of build-up. And then you go to last year, and it's weird that such a storyline was: is he going to be center? Is he going to be guard? Does it matter? All of those things. And now here we go to year number 3, and you bring in Tyler Linderbaum, so he's not playing center, and you bring in Spencer Burford, and so there's competition on one side of the guard spot. Dylan Parham, who had been a starting guard there for the last 4 years, is now with the Jets. Yeah. So you've got the right side, but is he the starter there, or is Trey Zune going to be the starter there? Mm-hmm. Let's not forget Caleb Rogers did start the last 6 games there, and I think a lot of people like Caleb Rogers. Yeah. So the JPJ story is one that is very interesting because certainly his starting spot is not something that's guaranteed. And beyond that, I would wonder if he doesn't play well in training camp, is his roster spot guaranteed? Because this is not the front office that drafted him. And because of the amount of capital they spent to bring in interior offensive linemen over the last year or two, is he a guy that's going to make headway on this team? My gut is yes, even if he's not starting, he's absolutely got value, but we got to see it.
if anyone had any question about, Max Crosby and the fire that burns within, which how could you ever have any question about that? But if you did, I would imagine that all of that got answered or re-answered this morning when Max Crosby showed up at the practice facility with the rookies. So he's decided this is going to be my starting point for this year. How excited are you about that? How surprised are you that he showed up this early? And what kind of, if healthy, what kind of year do you suspect Mad Max is going to have this year?
Do we know if any rookie beat him in the building? Vinny, do we know that?
I don't, but I would highly doubt that anybody did.
Yeah, I mean, what would be the odds board?
I know you wouldn't have. I know you wouldn't have.
No, not a chance.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
You're like, what time do I got to be there? 8. I'll be there at 7:59 and 59 seconds.
So, I actually would like, what, that might be my birthday goal for year 43. I might start. So my mom, my mom used to set the clocks forward 5 minutes in our house.
Yes, she was one of those.
Yeah, and yet she was still late. It's really remarkable that she was still so late. And and maybe that's why this is worn off on me. But I'm like, we got to be there at 8:15. We're going to leave at 8:12. How are we late? I don't understand. So maybe I'm going to try to change things around this year. No, I think Max is going to have. There's so much motivation, and I think he's also particularly on the front seven. If you think about the last few years, he's surrounded by better talent. Mm-hmm. That's something we haven't really had in the front seven. Christian Wilkins was the big signing that's been in the front over the last few years. And obviously that only lasted 5 or 6 games. Then he went on IR, and then last year never made it past whatever happened in the summer in training camp, and he's still not on a roster. So, that is certainly something that the Raiders did this year. They upgraded talent around him. You get Quay Walker, you get Nakobe Dean, you get Kwity Paye. So I think, plus Adam Butler, who's still, last year was a down year, but the 2 previous years with the Raiders were 2 of his best years in the NFL. So I do think the front seven is much more talented than it has been the last couple of years. And I think that's going to benefit Max because he sees 2 and 3 guys around him because nobody else on the front seven has been feared by other offenses. And I think that's different. I think that's going to be drastically different. Now, here's the reality with Nakobe, though. And it was certainly a question mark. It was a storyline during June. I don't know why I'm blanking what we called that. Oh, thank you. Mandatory minicamp. But he has had a lot of injuries in his career. He wasn't hurt as a rookie, but didn't really play anything other than special teams. He was a starter for that entire Super Bowl winning season, but suffered an injury in the playoffs. He was hurt the year before that. So he's got to stay healthy, which he hasn't really been able to do. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be able to stay healthy this year. And so if he is, Quay, all those guys, Kwity Paye, the defensive front seven is so much more talented than it has been, and that can only benefit Max. So I think that's a great thing.
And in thinking about that, as far as Dean is concerned, what do you think the plan B is for him when he needs to get spelled, especially in these early portions of camp? Is that person on the roster, or do you think that they might be looking a little further?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they feel about the younger guys, right? Tommy Eichenberg, Cody Lindenberg, those guys have taken very few defensive snaps. Right. Tommy in his first 2 years. Cody, I don't think Cody took a single defensive snap last year. He played every game. He was active all 17, and he played a ton of special teams, but I don't believe he played a single defensive snap. Yeah. But during those mandatory mini camps, he was running next to Quay Walker as the starting middle linebacker, as the starting linebacker, as Nakobe was out. So, maybe this group, maybe Rob Leonard thinks a lot of him. We'll find out, as camp gets going. There's other guys they brought in, but guys who have been special teams their whole career. Segun Alubi from the Colts, who blocked a punt against the Raiders last year. He has been a special teams ace in his career. They went out and signed him. He's a linebacker, but does he play linebacker for this team? I don't know. Cam McGrone, former Michigan Wolverine. He's actually been in the league for 5 years. He was a 2021 draft pick, but he hasn't played many games with the Patriots and the Browns. He's been mostly a special teams guy when he has been active. So at the Colts, is he someone that can play linebacker? And again, I don't know. So it's either one of those 2 special teams guys that they brought in, or it's one of the younger guys that's been drafted. But I guess time will tell.
Yeah, Cody Lindenberg was a guy that was consistently mentioned to me as somebody that really had a great offseason. Hopefully for him, training camp is a big opportunity for him to solidify his role and to say, you don't need to go anywhere else outside the building.
For me too, Vinny, because you know me, I like meeting people and families. And last year during preseason, I met his mom and dad, his sister, at the time his fiance, now I believe his wife, and we had a great conversation on the sideline before one of the and I never really got to use that conversation because we never saw him play.
I think that might change this year for Cody. And along those lines, when we're talking about second-year players, I don't think there's a bigger spotlight on two second-year players than Jack Bech and Dante Thornton. I think that Jack Bech, for whatever reason, it didn't work out with him with the previous offensive coordinator. We'll leave that right there. It's a fresh start for him with a new staff that are going to look at him through their lens, and I think there is an opportunity. What does Jason Horowitz need to see from Jack Bech and from Dante Thornton when training camp opens?
I think that everyone's looking. Everyone looks at the Raiders and like, hey, they don't have a wide receiver one. And it's fair. It's totally fair. But obviously Brock is a target one, right? Not wide receiver one. But for the longest time with the Chiefs, they didn't have a wide receiver one. They had Travis Kelce, and then they had other guys, right, who have filled in the gaps. And it's probably caught up to them as Kelce's got older. But it wasn't really a problem 5 years ago, 7 years ago. And Brock is
when Tyreek was there.
And yes, of course. But even when Tyreek left, they won a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Without really a wide receiver one, and they were trying to fill in the gaps, right? So, so I think that can work. The question is, do you have a good enough weapon two? Is Jalen Naylor good enough weapon two? Is Trey Tucker a good enough weapon three? They talked about it like he is. And if that turns out to be true, then can Jack Bech be your best third receiver? And which means what all that really means is, can he get separation? Mm-hmm. And that's what you need to see. As much as I like Jacoby Myers on this team, Jacoby was not a guy that separated. He was able to make a lot of pin-tight catches and then get some yards after. And obviously the Jaguars liked that, and they gave him an extension and all those things. And Jacoby did a lot of great things for the Raiders his first couple of years, but he never really got a ton of separation. Can Jack do those type of things? And outside in the slot, wherever they need to line him up. And if the answer to that is yes, and I think he could be a breakout candidate for your number two.
Jason Horowitz, voice of the Raiders. It is his birthday today. Just a real quick, give us a quick hitter. Is there, and what is your best case scenario for a transition from Cousins to Mendoza?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me best case scenario from 42 to 43. And in that situation, I was going to say that my back stops hurting.
The secret of life.
What was the question, Clay? I lost track on the.
Doesn't matter. It's your birthday.
Something about Cousins.
Yeah. What's the ideal?
Mendoza, what you asked me?
Ideal transition from Cousins to Mendoza during the year.
Ideal transition is that the season is not. The ideal transition isn't that we're going from Cousins to Mendoza because the team's 1-6. If the team is competing, maybe 500, maybe they feel that Mendoza's ready and they want to throw him out there because they want to see where it goes. But the team hasn't completely lost the season. I think that's an ideal transition. Kurt Warner and Eli Manning, I believe, and you guys are probably going to remember this more than I do, but I believe the Giants were 500, and they made the decision to transition from Kurt Warner to Eli Manning, and obviously it went down for 2 Super Bowls, and Eli didn't have the greatest career. It's why he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's won 2 Super Bowls, but he didn't have the greatest career. But he had a really good career, and they went from a guy who was a solid player who had won a Super Bowl, who was kind of in a down part of his career, and then obviously in Arizona made it back to another Super Bowl. But Kirk Cousins is a really, really good Pro Bowl pro. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's a Pro Bowl pro. And if he has that type of, if he has that type of resurgence, first of all, this is assuming that he is starting, which I know Vinny doesn't think he's going to. I think Vinny thinks it's better to throw out Fernando week 1 against Miami. But if, in fact, Cousins is the starter week 1, that if, in fact, you're transitioning to Fernando in the middle of the season, I think the ideal situation is one of two things. It's because the team is playing well enough to compete, but they need to get more from the offense. They haven't gotten nothing from the offense, but they need to get more. That's ideal because you're throwing him out there and there's still a season to play and there's a lot to play for. Or you don't have a choice because Kirk got hurt. And that's when you go into Fernando. Those are the two situations that are like best case scenario.
Mine would be that he wins the job outright, and away we go. I still think
is that a transition though, Vinny? That's not a transition.
That wouldn't be a transition, but that's the ideal scenario, and for me, and I'm not ruling that out. And I know the Raiders aren't ruling that out either.
That is 100% the ideal scenario. If Fernando is the better quarterback in training, by the way, you got to tell me something because we were talking about you don't put the pads on until August 3rd or August 4th, and we have the first preseason game August 13th, and there's definitely an off day or two in between. That means this team has 5 or 6 padded practices before the opening preseason game. That is it, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how things work nowadays. We understand it, because you're just trying to keep guys as healthy as possible throughout the course of the season. So, but it is a little bit different. It's a departure from how it once used to be, back in the day. But yeah, I do think that Kirk's probably going to start this season, and so but we'll see. And the Giants were 5-4 when they handed it off from Kurt Warner.
So there you go.
To Eli, but they had lost 3 straight to get to 5-4, so they were kind of on a little bit of a skid. But their head was still above water, and he went 1-6. By the way, Peyton Manning went, Eli Manning went 1-6.
Eli went 1-6, and Peyton went like 3-13 or 4-12 as a rookie, and the greats of all time, most, not all, but many and most of them had terrible rookie years when they played from a record standpoint. A lot of them had awful rookie years. Not everyone, but many of them did. And so, look, I don't think we have. I think we live in a world where expectations are what drive all of these things. And that's okay. That's how we balance how we feel about stuff, right? It's about what you think and what you believe from an expectation standpoint. If you believe and expect the Raiders to go 6-11 and they go 8-9, we had a really good year. If you expect Fernando Mendoza is going to come in and be a rookie of the year and Raiders are going to compete for the playoffs, and he doesn't play and they go 8-9, you had a terrible year. So it's all about what you expect this team to do. And I got to be honest, guys, and maybe this is where I'm living right now. I don't expect anything. That doesn't mean I expect bad. I don't expect good. I don't know what my expectations are. And that's how I want to go into this season, because I think there is so much unknown. There's a lot of possibility, but there's so much unknown about what it's going to be, and I'm okay with that. I really am.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for coming on your birthday, no less. We wish you the very best of today, and we thank you so much for your time. Let's do it again next week, my friend, when the pads are glistening in the locker room and the players are back in the facility.
You better get Vince to send me a birthday message from the 50 or wherever he's standing in Allegiant Stadium.
Oh, you're going to get
out on my birthday. What a slacker.
Oh, you're going to get something nice. I can tell you, because Vince, he's very sentimental. He's very tender in these moments. Thanks again, Jason.
Piece of turf, maybe.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Follow him at Horowitz Jason on X and wish him a happy birthday, will you? Take care, my friend.
See you guys.
All right, more coming up on the rookies. We're talking about day 3 rookies. Which one are you most excited and intrigued about? Who could turn heads in camp? We'll get more of your thoughts at 702-365-9200 coming up next. But first, a word from Vinny.
Hey, guys, how long, when it comes to your health, when it comes to feeling better, when it comes to your weight, have you been saying, hey, I'll start tomorrow? Well, those tomorrows start running out pretty quickly. Here's the thing. Your opportunity is right now with City MD. If you're tired of feeling sluggish, frustrated with your weight, dealing with daily aches and pains, or just not feeling like yourself, it's time to take control. City MD in Las Vegas offers personalized wellness and weight management programs designed for real, lasting results, but they don't stop there. City MD also provides advanced pain therapy and primary care, giving you a complete head-to-toe approach to your health. One team, one plan, built around you. More energy, less pain, better health, real confidence. And here's the thing. Appointments are filling up fast, so stop waiting. Stop putting it off. Give them a call at 725-255-7246. That's 725-255-7246. Ask for our good friends Andy or Claudia, and they'll take it from there. Or just go to citymdphp.com. That's citymdphp.com right now and schedule your consultation. City MD, stop waiting. Start feeling like yourself again today.
Vince, Vinny, and Clay want to hear from you. Call or text the show at 702-365-9200. Now, back to the morning tailgate.
We got a first-round pick in Max Crosby. Like, think about it. We thought he was gone. And I'm like, oh, what are we going to do without Max? And all of a sudden the trade doesn't happen, right? And Max is still a Raider. And so we went through that little 2 days of grief, and then we realized we've got a first-round, generational, talented guy who can go out and get after the passer. He's the leader of this defense. There'll be a new defensive coordinator this year, and Rob Leonard, who was the defensive line coach the previous couple of seasons. And this is going to be a different type of defense. This is going to be attacking a downhill. Rob loves to blitz. You can just see it in him, man. He wants to bring pressure, and the pressure is really going to be. He loves it, dude. Like, this is what he wants to do, man. So I love that this new defense will allow Max Crosby, I think, to go to a different level of I think where he's at in his career. Now, look, we've added some pieces along, whether it's through the draft or, bringing on a Kwity Paye who's going to play on the opposite side of him, or bringing back Malcolm Kuntz, guys who can get after the quarterback. But I think the big thing here is that the Raiders went out and spent a lot of money in the draft. When you're talking about offseason moves and bringing in Quay Walker at linebacker along with Nakobe Dean, and then they go out and draft 4 dudes in the secondary, they are going to cover on the back end to give Max and those guys up front enough time to get after the quarterback.
As Kirk Morrison yesterday on the Jim Rome Show. We're back here on the morning tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker here with you. And from Kirk Morrison's comments, talking about this is a revamped defense under new DC Rob Leonard, but with Max at the helm as a continued leader for this defensive line, he brought up the fact that the Raiders really did a good job by kind of like keeping certain guys intact, but also drafting impact players in the secondary, and that's something that's a little different. So what can you expect from how these rookies are going to assess themselves on a Rob Leonard defense? This seems a little different than previous years because we don't know exactly what Rob Leonard's going to be other than aggressive.
Yeah, and that will play out, and part of that's going to be, do you have the personnel to be the aggressive coach that you want to be? If you're blitzing, that means that you're going to have cornerbacks that can defend in man coverage or be really good in zone coverage, behind it. So, do you have the personnel to be able to pull that off? It's great to want to be a certain way. It's great to want to be more aggressive and to blitz more, and to do, give those types of looks to the quarterback and to the opposing offense. But at the same time, you have to have the personnel to be able to pull it off, and that's where guys like Jermon McCoy, that's where guys like Traden Stukes and Zeke Massis, obviously Eric Stokes, the holdovers, come into play. Because if you don't have that coverage on the back end, one way or another, whether it's in man coverage or really disciplined, very disciplined zone coverage to cover that up, because by nature, when you're blitzing, that means you're taking guys out of pass coverage to go out there and try to create pressure on the quarterback. So you have to have people that you can depend on to cover it up when you do. And if they can, then he can be as aggressive as he wants wants to be, but that's the question that's going to have to get answered here pretty soon.
Statement from the text line at 702-365-9200 says still no bona fide defensive tackle, nose tackle, and only Max has shown the ability to consistently disrupt the edge, off the edge. Perhaps the secondary can cover better and allow the front seven to get more pressure. My question is, if Darian Porter can ascend in year 2, would you rather he play boundary cornerback and McCoy play slot cornerback?
No, for right as of no. McCoy would be a field slash boundary cornerback. That's what his strength is. He's a guy that rubs out your best player on the other team's best player. That's what he projects to be. Teron Johnson right now is the slot cornerback. We'll see kind of how that plays out. And Darian Porter has a lot of work to do to be able to become a dependable play in and play out cornerback as well, and he needs to show that this year. This is a big year for him as well, and so he needs to turn that potential, that incredible athletic ability, the size, everything. He's got all of that going for him. Now he's got to be able to play cornerback at a high level, and I don't think that that's necessarily a given, but so he has a big training camp ahead of him as well.
And how do you think that will kind of work, as far as because outside corner, they get a lot of work, and you need a rotation with guys. Do you think they'll continue the way they've kind of worked him in during the other portions of OTAs and minicamp, where sometimes you would have days off and sometimes you would have days on?
You mean in terms of being the starter?
Well, being available during training camp and during being part of that rotation.
Are you talking about McCoy, or are you talking about? I think there will be still a little bit of management with Jamon McCoy, yes, because again, he hasn't played football in over a year. There is the need to basically manage or take care of, but I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be like it was in OTAs. That was they just decided, look, we don't need to see him out there right now and really push the needle too far right now in that setting. But he's going to get a lot of run in training camp. There will be some managing going on, but it's not going to be at all like it was in OTAs unless something happens. So you're going to see him out there a lot. And to the bigger point, last year we saw a lot of rotation, at that cornerback spot, with a few different candidates, Darian Porter being one of them. Obviously, Eric Stokes locked down his position. I don't think the Raiders want to go down that path again. Who does? You want a guy to step up and take that job and be the guy, down in and down out. Then you figure out your rotation in terms of your nickel looks, your dime looks, everything else after that. But I don't think they want to go into another season where there's a rotation at one of those perimeter cornerback spots, because that basically tells you we don't really feel like either one of them can lock down that job or be the guy that we need them to be on a down-to-down basis, and that's not good. So they will definitely want and hope that somebody, whether it's McCoy, Porter, or anybody else, Zeke Massis, that says, I'm your guy over here. I got this position locked down.
What do you think that Porter needs to do to kind of make that ascension into year 2? What were the things that he wasn't able to possess in year 1 that he could take into year 2? And I think one of them could be just experience overall. But yeah. What were things in his game that you felt like, all right, what could you work on in the offseason to make sure that you get better? Because he's got a lot of heat on him right now to continue on and be a starting role.
It's fundamentals at this level. It's confidence at this level. It's knowing how to play the position. It's understanding what the wide receiver is trying to do, understanding what the offense is trying to do. It's just all the nuances of playing cornerback. Again, we go back to his college career, and he was a wide receiver for the first few years of his college career. Then he switches over to cornerback. That's not an easy transition to make necessarily. And even after making that transition, or at least the positional change, it wasn't like he was out there on the field a lot. It took a little while before he ended up being a starter at Iowa State, and so everything was pushed back a little bit for him. And the growth and development of knowing how to play cornerback, the instincts that you need, the feel for the position, all of those things. There was an understanding that was going to continue into the NFL. You look at Jamon McCoy; he knows how to play the position. It just screams. He's just a natural. That's the position he's played. I don't know what he did in high school, but I do know in college that's what he was exclusively at Oregon State and Tennessee. And when you watch him play, he did it at such a high level. And where you can really see that is obviously just the coverage skills, whether it's man-to-man or when he was in zone. He knew what the heck he was doing back there. But also, when it got right down to it, he was somebody that had the confidence, the instincts, the feel for the game, the understanding of it to go make plays on balls, whether it was tipping it out of the way or coming up with it. In terms of a turnover, he was really as good as it gets in the college level until he got hurt. So that's kind of like the difference of somebody that knows how to play the position, already has an advanced feel for the position, as opposed to somebody that's still learning how to play cornerback. And you got to learn in real time in the NFL like that if you're Darren Porter.
We're asking you and getting your thoughts up on the text line and on the phones. What day 3 pick are you most excited about as the rookies are at the facility? Who could turn heads in training camp? 702-365-9200. It's Vinny and Clay here on your Thursday. Paul Gutierrez will join us at the top of the hour. It's Raider Nation Radio 920.
We'll take your comments and questions on X. Follow us at RNR 920 AM. Let's dig in to the morning tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Yeah, rolling along here on your Thursday. Thank you so much for being with us. The morning tailgate here on Raider Nation Radio 920. It's Vinny and Clay and the rest of the way here with you. Paul Gutierrez will join us at the top of the next hour, columnist with Raiders.com. And we see up on the text line as we asked a question about day 3 rookies. Which ones are you the most excited about, and who could turn some heads in training camp? Funky Raider 31 from Strong Beach texting in saying that he likes 3 the hard way. I have 2 day 3 rooks that I'm watching. Number 1, Mike Washington, because I want to see the running back who's going to be called on to give Genty a breather. But number 2, Malik Benson for his special team skills. And number 3, the Tokyo Toe. All right, so Kansei Matsuzawa is an interesting person, but I've heard you over the past few days where you've kind of been very firm in your feeling that Matt Gay is probably the guy that's going to come out of all this as your starting kicker, and you can't underestimate somebody who's been in the league for a while to have that veteran presence to understand the kind of pressure you can see at the NFL level, and I'm not so sure that Kansei saw that at Hawaii. In the Mountain West, high pressure situations to go and deliver big kicks at a moment's notice when it's really having the game crucially on the line.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that Special K is not going to be part of the journey. I would imagine that he would be on their practice squad. I think they see value in him and they see a future in him. But I think that more realistically, to start the season, it'll be Matt's job. Right now, he's got a familiarity, obviously, with the new special teams coach. Had his best year under him, kind of back in the day. It's not, to me, the greatest kicking situation by any stretch of the imagination. The Raiders, for years had a really reliable kicker in Daniel Carlson. Those days, that era is over, and Matt is somebody that has struggled. Let's be honest with you, with some consistency issues over the years, is why he's sort of had the journey that he's had most recently. But to start the season, and probably for this season, I think that he is the kicker for the Raiders with Special K. Being over there as a practice squad player, and I have to go back and look at the rules to see what kind of protection they might be able to have.
Okay.
For as far as a practice squad player, look, here's the thing: if you put him on waivers, which is what you have to do before you can bring him back to the practice squad, the likelihood of him getting signed by another team and then automatically put onto their 53-man roster, I think is pretty slim at that point. So he would be able to come back onto the practice squad. I do think that that's what the plan is, and hopefully, whether it's later this year or down the road, he becomes the kicker for the Raiders.
And it's funny because you see how throughout the league, especially last year, there were almost 45 kickers. Putting up stats because of either roster changes or mid-season injuries. So it's important to have at least some sort of knowledge of, all right, who are you starting the year with and how long can they handle it, but also having something in your back pocket.
Yeah, and all these special teams coaches, they have their back pocket guys. You know, for the Raiders, that could be Special K throughout the whole season. But special teams coaches, trust me, they have their little phone index and Rolodex, and it's probably about 5 or 6 deep. That if there's a dire straits situation, you get 6 guys in to go through a workout, and the special teams coach is basically going to determine that and take a look at that. Most head coaches just sign off on what the special teams coach says because that's their expertise. But yes, at any given time, every single special teams coach in the league has their stack of, hey, if something were to happen, here's 5 guys that we could turn to at least for a tryout basis, and of those 5, be able to bring one of those guys in.
Yeah, it's absolutely important, and the fact that you will hear certain names throughout the year, like who, why, but they have been coveted by certain teams and certain special teams coaches that they are well known in that circle. Hey, hour 3 is upon us. As Max Crosby posted earlier today, it's go time with Paul Gutierrez. He joins us next from Raiders.com here on Raider Nation Radio 920. It's the Morning Tailgate.
This is Raider Nation Radio 920. This is the Morning Tailgate.
Deuce! Goodbye! Into the end zone! 60 yards! Touchdown Raiders!
With Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, and Clay Baker.
It's the trifecta for Bowers! His 3rd touchdown of the game! And the Raiders with a chance to win it!
On Raider Nation Radio 920.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. The Morning Tailgate, R&R 920 AM on X. It's Raider Nation Radio. Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, Vince Sapienza is at Allegiant Stadium, getting you ready with Fox 5 Vegas's coverage of the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot going on here in the 3rd and final hour as we continue to take your thoughts on what day 3 pick are you most excited about? Who could turn heads in training camp as rookies have reported to Raiders HQ? And we got to get into it. And it begins now. Oh, you hear the music from the depths of the high desert and released into the wild. He's the master of the Gorilla Press Slam and the Ultimate Splash. It's not the Ultimate Warrior. It's Paul Gutierrez from Raiders.com, the columnist extraordinaire, as he joins us here on this Thursday. Paul, good morning to you. As you now see this moment in time when the rookies report, what's that like to you, be covering the Raiders again year after year, and this part of the year, does it we're going to bring about a certain amount of energy and excitement that goes and burns deep inside your heart and soul that the season and the campaign is about to begin?
Chuck D from, Clay, Chuck D from Public Enemy had Flavor Flav as his hype man. I don't think I can get any better than that, except for what you just did, man. And with the theme music and everything else, I'm fired up. I feel like the Ultimate Warrior himself running in the Hoosier Dome, WrestleMania 8, coming in to save Hogan when he was attacked by Justice and Papa Shango.
Yes.
And I know that Vinny right now is just spinning, going, what language are you speaking? But that is exactly how I feel now as rookies report. And let's go, because the Ultimate Warriors theme song just hit, and we're good to go.
Woo! I love it. And, Paul, we're going to definitely talk Raiders. But here's something that just, landed on my radar that I did not know about. I thought you were the most famous Barstow High School alum, right?
No.
Dino,
yes.
Dino, yes. I didn't realize that. I did not realize that. So, fine me, whatever fine is suitable for that. But come to find out, he did not only that, but I was obviously thinking about you when, obviously his second son just got drafted in the first round.
Yes.
Were you and Dino? He's older than you, but how did you get to know him at all? Or I know covering baseball, you had to have.
Oh, yeah. No, Dino's 4 years older than me. He graduated from Barstow High in 84. I graduated in 88. But growing up, it's a small town where everybody knows everybody's business, right? 20,000 people in Barstow today, as it was when I was growing up, as it was when my parents were growing up. So Dino was like a grown man in Little League and in Senior League growing up. He was one of the few guys that could hit the ball out at Barstow College, which has Dodger Stadium dimensions, really, if you think about it. 330 down the line, 390 to center. So, and Dino, in the off seasons, he'd come home and we'd play softball with in tournaments against each other and stuff. So, yeah, I've known Dino for, pretty much all my life. So it's really cool to see him have all the success that he's having as the Dodger third base coach. Came up with the Angels with Mike Scioscia. He was drafted by the Dodgers that summer of '88. I did a story when I was at the Times, and when we were both working in L.A., and Oral Hershiser was trying to make his comeback in the 2000 season, and he had a rehab start at San Bernardino, Class A San Bernardino. Whoa. And Dino was the manager of the San Bernardino team, and Jack Clark, the villain of the '85 NLCS, was his hitting coach. So all of that one thing, it's you have these, you do this career long enough, and you see all these things come together. And I just remember sitting there thinking, wow, this is kind of cool. I'm working at the LA Times, covering the Dodgers, talking to Dino Ebel, who I played catch with as a kid, right? Interviewing Oral Hershiser and Jack Clark in San Bernardino. So it was all, it's just one of those things where if you do this thing long enough, you see some pretty wild connections. And it goes from the Dodgers to the Angels to the Kings to UNLV to ultimately the Raiders, where we are now. And you saw how I dropped in an ultimate there, Clay.
I did, and in fact, I was even going to ask you if Jack Clark taught you how to slide into second base and give you the menacing look and how to to flip over Ozzie Smith in a hard slide. I hope he was teaching that at San Bernardino.
You know what? That's Will Clark. Not Jack Clark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Clark. That's right. I was thinking of Jack Clark with the. Yeah, that's right. I was getting that mixed up from the old days. I apologize. There were too many Clarks.
All good. No, but yeah,
that is not Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, Jack the Ripper. I could not believe how big he was and how fearsome he was and how much he really reminded me of Aikido / quote unquote master Steven Seagal. Kind of the same dude.
Yes.
But yeah, it was again, shout out to Dino and both of his sons getting drafted in back-to-back years in the first round. And Dino's wife, I graduated with in high school. So again, it's a very small community where everybody knows everybody's business, and for the most part, pulls for each other. So it's really, really cool to see that. And there's times, there was a time, guys, this was in 2019. And, my wife, Amy, was a longtime in-game reporter for the San Francisco Giants. And she has the 3 World Series rings, obviously, from earlier in the last decade. But I'm there, and this is at the height of the Antonio Brown drama for the Raiders. Ooh. But I go down to I'm still at ESPN, and I'm doing something baseball-related during training camp. And I'm down on the field during batting practice, and I'm talking to Dino, catching up with him. Dave Roberts comes over. A bunch of Dodger players come running over. They wanted to know from me what Antonio Brown was really like. And is this serious? Is this really happening? Because remember, not only was the Antonio Brown thing happening, but it was Hard Knocks. So even in the midst of the dog days of August in the baseball season, the Dodgers all wanted to know what was going on with the Raiders and with Antonio Brown in particular.
Yeah, if you want to know how big football is, just go into a clubhouse on a Sunday morning before a Sunday game in October or September. They got college football, and they got on Saturdays and the NFL on Sunday. So it definitely is king. Well, you talk about how in Barstow everybody kind of sticks together. We also know that rookie classes try to stick together. You've done many stories about rookie classes over the years, and here come the Raiders rookies reporting today. Obviously Fernando Mendoza is a story that's going to drive not just Las Vegas, but really the NFL partially throughout this year. We'll keep track of that. But, man, Paul, I really got my eye on Jermod McCoy. I think he's such an intriguing player and can be such an impactful player if he's healthy. He signed his contract yesterday. All indications are that he is healthy. It's kind of a longevity issue. But how excited are you are you to see Jermod McCoy? Because I can't think of a time recently where the Raiders had this level of a young cornerback on their roster. He's a dynamic football player.
Absolutely. And then I heard the question earlier is which day 3 guy are you most excited for and intrigued? I mean, you look at all those day 3 guys and it's almost kind of like throwing a dart and just saying, okay, yeah, I'm really excited about Malik Benson. Hey, wait, Hezekiah Massis. It's Jermod McCoy, and I think from the Raider perspective it is too. I mean, and it sounds funny when you say it, but they were so intrigued by him despite the injury that they traded up one spot. That's how much they wanted him. They traded up one spot to get him. And that just shows you exactly what they think about him. Now, whether the question was, well, does he need the second surgery, another surgery? Is he a day one starter? Obviously, he projects with the talent of being a starter. Not only that, but he might be involved in special teams as well as a returner. So there's some things there that tell you, okay, well, he's all in, the Raiders are all in, and you go from there. And you're right. I mean, in terms of drafting somebody to be a lockdown corner, we got to go all the way back to, yes, they've used first-round draft picks on different guys through the years with varying results, not always positive, but you got to go back to Nnamdi Asomugha for somebody that really came in. And remember, he was a safety in college, and Al Davis said, no, you're a corner now. And I remember Nnamdi telling me, I guess I'm a corner now. And they just and you saw what happened.
It's Paul Gutierrez here with us, Raiders.com, the great columnist. Raiders.com will be your ultimate source for training camp information and content as we go on through the days and weeks. And even as you brought up Hezekiah Masses, what do you think his story is going to be? Because he's somebody that we know has a definite role when he was in college, that somebody had a ball-hawking nature, defended a lot of passes, but he was somebody that also, had a lot of coverage penalties. How do you think he's going to be coming along, and how will this transition into something where maybe he competes for a starting role?
Yeah, speaking of corners coming out of Cal, right? But that's the thing with him, is that he is physical, and does that translate, or do refs let him get away with things, or are refs going to look at his reputation and say, yeah, we're gonna not let this rookie get away with this because, again, he is only a day 3 guy, blah blah blah. He's real intriguing as well, and you saw him during rookie minicamp, during OTAs, during mandatory minicamp. He was his jersey, his number just kept flashing, and you saw him out there doing a lot of things, whether it was during return drills or during 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s. What's going to be interesting for me, and what's going to be the telltale sign, and I'm going to quote Clint Kubiak here when I say this: training camp will reveal all. And maybe that's not the exact quote, but I'm going to paraphrase him. Training camp will reveal all, especially when they get the pads on, and how handy he's going to be allowed to be, because the more physical he's allowed to be, the more success he's going to have. But as we know, in the NFL, it just kind of depends upon which that officiating crew is going to be deciding to call that day. So again, as Clint Kubiak said, training camp will reveal all, not just for Hezekiah Masses, but for all of them, and especially when they get the pads on and we see exactly how physical they're allowed to be.
We're talking to Paul Gutierrez, the great Paul Gutierrez from Raiders.com, the great columnist from the Raiders site. Paul, you and I have had many, many conversations, early in training camps or as training camp went on, and about expectations of that particular team that we were covering. And I got to say that, there were a few times where we were kind of shaking our head about what might be really possible for that particular team. There's been some lean years, let's be honest about it. But as you approach this training camp, and I know every year feels different. We always talk about that, but this genuinely feels different. I don't know necessarily about pie-in-the-sky expectations or about wins, but about a much brighter future, the possibility of a much brighter future. So as you approach this season, in terms of the expectations, in terms of your excitement level, where does it register, maybe compared to some of these years in the recent past?
Yeah, it's interesting, guys, because I've covered this team in one way or another since 2005. Grew up a Raider fan. I was going to Raider games in the late 80s on a credential when I was in junior college for my hometown newspaper, the Barstow Desert Dispatch. And every year, and as Mark Davis likes to tell us all at this time, the Raiders are undefeated. So what's different about this time, and I've said this to Q numerous times later in the day, right, is – last year, and I could go back and hear myself saying it. Yeah, this year feels different. You got Pete Carroll. You got a coach with pelts on the wall, and he knows how to win. The difference to me this time, guys, is that they are built for the long haul, not for putting Band-Aids on and looking for immediate gratification. Yeah, of course, the goal every year is to win, and you want to win as much as possible. But the fan base also, I think, has this natural ability to just kind of see it for what it is. This division is tough. If it's not the toughest division in football, it's the second toughest. Look at the NFC West. But as far as just getting things going, they're all on the same page. And you could have said that last year at the start. They were all on the same page, especially after that win at New England, who would go on to the Super Bowl. But not only are they all on the same page now, but they're all kind of pulling in the same direction. And that, to me, is what's different about this. Of course, every year is different. There's new, we're talking about another new coach-GM combo.
Right.
But they are all looking at the same thing, and they're all looking at it through the same lens. And I don't recall the last time you could really say that, because even back in 2017, there was a lot of hype. When they started 2-0 and blew out the Jets at home, there was a lot of hype. They were a dark horse Super Bowl contender that year. But the influence of Marshawn Lynch, I'm not going to say he ruined the chemistry, but he definitely altered it. That was something that was different from the year before as well. So not everybody was kind of pulling in the same direction. So that is what's different to me about this year's team. Not only are they all on the same page, but they're all pulling in the same direction with similar expectations.
One of your stories I really enjoyed was about the under-the-radar storylines going into camp, and you brought up it just in bold type. Hey, who are the kick and punt returners, and how do you think things are going to change from years previous to what they have now, and how could some newcomers actually emerge?
Yeah, well, again, it just kind of depends upon what they want to do. And this is a lot of these, that's where some of these day three guys that we've been talking about, whether it's Massis or Malik Benson, even Mike Washington, the running back, that's where they're going to be, they're going to make the team. There's no doubt about that. It's usually the UDFRs that have to make their bones on special teams to make a roster, but they have an influx of young guys, talented guys, fast guys that can really alter things. And when you lose your number one punt returner in terms of, punt returns and yards per return, your number one kick returner in terms of yards per return, and you have a new special teams coordinator, there's a lot of opportunities for guys to step up and kind of grab that and take off with it. So that to me is what's exciting about the young guys. And if you look at some of those names that I mentioned in there, you even see Jermod McCoy's name in there, which was kind of surprising to me to write that, considering the concerns with the knee. But that's where an opportunity is going to present itself for somebody to really stand out. And people forget about the special teams aspect of it. I know it's kind of a niche thing, but it is one of the phases of the game, right, that the games are won and lost on. So that's why I chose to go with underrated storylines. We could talk about the quarterback situation. We talk about Max Crosby, the heat-seeking linebackers at the rebuilt linebacker position, the reimagined offensive line. But, what about the special teams? Because it's the kicker competition. It's the guys who's going to be the returners. Man. And, what about A.J. Cole? We all know that the only constant in life, let alone football, is change. But this guy, he's not only dealing with having to break in a new long snapper, but his partner in crime, Daniel Carlson, is gone too. So there's a lot of change there around him as well for arguably, and I know you can make an argument about anything, but arguably the best punter in the NFL. He leads the NFL in all-time punt average right now, so it's interesting.
Paul, I'm not going to compare Matt Schaub to Kirk Cousins. Matt Schaub back in 2014, I think it was kind of shot. Yeah. That was pretty obvious. So I think Kirk is in a much better place. But the concept is kind of similar. The Raiders signed Matt Schaub, or brought Matt Schaub in to be the bridge quarterback for a guy by the name of Derek Carr, second-round pick from Fresno State that year. Well, lo and behold, Derek got out there. They were coming off a 4-12 season. They go 3-13 in Derek's first season. So they actually lost one more game that season compared to the previous season. But lo and behold, they go 7-9 the next year, and then 12-3 the year after that. We all understand what happened, where they were maybe headed until Derek got hurt late in that season. Could I make the case that could be an ideal way of handling, Fernando Mendoza? Get him on the field this year, even if you're going to, end up with not one less loss than last year, but moderate improvement. Set him up for next year for a big step forward next year, and then really point toward year 3 to take that massive step forward. And how important is it to get him on the field this year to help set a scenario like that up?
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's a quarterback competition in camp, right? And yet we saw where Fernando was in terms of the pecking order, and that really, to me, it makes all the sense in the world. I know you were playing some clips from Kirk Morrison earlier, but he kind of put it to me perfectly. It actually kind of makes more sense to have Fernando be QB3 going into the season, because the backup quarterback is only one snap away from getting into a game, and if Fernando is not completely ready, once he goes in, he's not coming out. So you got to keep that in mind on one side. But I do like the comparison back to 2014. Derek was drafted in the second round. Matt Schaub was the guy. And again, just a little inside baseball here. Remember, that offseason, they were in the market for a quarterback in free agency anyways. I remember writing a story at the time that their top three list was Matt Schaub was number one, Michael Vick and Mark Sanchez were 2 and 3.
Wow.
Not necessarily in that order in terms of their wish list. And then they drafted Derek. And, it's interesting is that back then they played the 4 preseason games, and preseason game 3 was the dress rehearsal. Derek gets in that game and takes it to the Legion of Boom, their starting lineup out there. And that's where he won the job. And Matt had dead arm, and the rest was history. So I'm not saying that that's the case here. But with that joint practice situation and scenario at Houston, that's kind of a nasty defense to go out there and try to prove yourself with. Yeah, it's lining itself up that way. And again, like we said at the beginning of this, the more you cover this and the more you've been around, the more you see similar things and similar storylines pop up, Vinny. I think you're right on to something there with that, because that could be a scenario there now. And that's where fans have to temper their expectations, because, again, who's the last quarterback that was a number 1 overall draft pick that essentially, took a redshirt season as a rookie? A guy that we both covered at USC, Carson Palmer, way back in 2003. So there's that aspect of things as well.
Well, I was wondering, even in the for the wide receiver room for these quarterbacks, who needs to step up in the second-year players between Besh and Thornton?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Thornton to me is the most intriguing there. And I talked about this early in OTAs is, the offseason was, they didn't go get that prototypical X receiver. They didn't go get that big guy that can stretch the field and could be a contact receiver. If you look at the physical attributes of him, he is that guy. He just needs to show it on the field because he's big, he's fast, he's strong. We saw he was not used to having to fight for the ball in traffic last year either. But if he works on all those things, he is the guy that kind of opens up everything else for every other receiver. Jack Besh, he was a second-round pick last year, so there's going to be a lot of expectations on him. But in terms of being something different and being able to unlock a lot of other people, Dante Thornton has that potential. And as our guy Bum Phillips said back in the day, Vinny, potential just means that you haven't proved it yet, or something along those lines.
Yeah, and a guy that we can talk about in that regard, too, is Jackson Powers Johnson. For all of the physicality, for all the eyeball tests, for all when he has been out there at times, has played good football. There's also periods of time where he hasn't played good football. You know as well as I do, Paul, that the train doesn't stop and it doesn't slow down for you. And at some point, if you're not keeping up or staying ahead of the game, you're going to get passed up. And I feel like Jackson Powers Johnson is kind of at that crossroads right now. And it could go one way or another. He's got the talent to do it, but how imperative is it that he does do it to kind of secure his future here in Las Vegas with the Raiders?
Well, for him, he's obviously a fan favorite, and he's a guy that has the big personality, and he has everything that comes along with that. Being a Raider fan and going to Raider games in Oakland back in the day too. You know what? I'm gonna kind of side on, just to be different here. I'm gonna side on his side a little bit here too, because last year at this part, remember the storyline was, all right, he's ready to be unlocked, he's ready to go. At least now he finally knows what his position is, as he introduced himself to Addison Genty as, "Hi, I'm Jackson. I'm your starting center." No, that wasn't the case, because they moved him to guard. So for a young player, you have to be versatile enough to play wherever they want you to play. Yeah. And yet, if you have all these expectations, you'd also like to know exactly where you're going to play. So whether that's left guard or right guard or center, whatever it is, that he's such an I'm not going to say he's an emotional player, but he's a guy that runs a lot on emotion. And if you're not sure exactly what your role is, how much can you really lock in? And that's where I'll take his, for lack of a better term, his side on things.
Right.
But if you know exactly what your role is, boom, there you go. And we all wrote those stories last offseason. We all talked about it, whether it was on the radio or on TV, that he's the center, he's the guy. Oh, wait a minute, what happened here? So now at least that's where he can lock in on something and go. And again, when it comes to this reimagined offensive line, it's not simply, guys, a matter of who's your best left guard, who's your best center, who's your best tackle, left tackle, right guard. It's what's your best line? How do these guys all work in concert with each other? And then you go from there, because that's what's so different about offensive line. It's not, okay, well, who's my best cornerback? Let's put him at left side. Let's put him at right side. No, it's who works best together in unison on an offensive line.
It's Paul Gutierrez. He's getting ready. He's putting on the headbands and the war paint for the Raiders campaign. We look forward to talking to you again out at the facility, and we are very grateful for your time as you approach this part of the year. Paul, the stories are great. The storylines are awesome, and I love it when you faced Andre the Giant. Thank you again for your time. Let's do this again soon.
Guys, thanks for having me. And Vinny, one more shout out to Barstow. Danny Norman was my junior college baseball coach, involved in the Tom Seaver trade. He was on the Reds and was traded to the Mets. And he ended your guy Lee Mazzilli's career basically with an outfield collision. So there you go.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Man.
That's right. Love me some Lee Mazzilli. That's the Italian stallion right there.
Thanks also.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it,
Absolutely.
Man. Follow Paul up at Raiders.com. The great columnist has got stories galore, profiles, so much going on there. I forgot about that. That was a huge trade. When Seaver went to Cincinnati, that was like the sky was falling.
You know, I don't know what's crazy about that. Tommy Lasorda, Joe Torre is now the manager of the Dodgers. Well, he was the player manager of the Mets. He had just basically taken over as player manager of the Mets when they have to make that trade. So he's telling me, can you imagine? You know, I go from being a player to being a player manager, and now one of the first things that we got to do is trade Tom Seaver. Like, oh man, welcome to the boiling water here. Anyway, he told me that they had a deal with the Dodgers to send Tom. Because the deal was done. It was Tom Seaver to the Dodgers, and the principal player coming back to the Mets was a guy by the name of Pedro Guerrero. I don't know if you remember who Pedro Guerrero was.
What a hitter.
Stud. And how things might have changed. Anyway, for both teams, because Pedro Guerrero was a big player for the Dodgers. Can you imagine Tom Terrific back in Los Angeles? He went to USC. He's a Fresno kid. How tremendous that would have been. But right before the trade kind of gets fully completed, Pedro Guerrero, who was in the minor leagues, I believe, at the time, ends up spraining his ankle, in a base running mishap, and the deal gets called off. Instead of going to the Dodgers, Tom Seaver ends up going to the Reds. I could just imagine how Dodger fans would have welcomed Tom Terrific back to Southern California, and how history could have changed if Tom Seaver was with the Dodgers, and that's exactly where he was headed.
And everyone was thinking, hey, Pedro Guerrero, this looks pretty good, because there was that time, was it 1985? He had 15 home runs in the month of June. I mean, he was a powerful hitter. It was incredible to hit for him to watch.
Really good play, yeah.
And
loved him with the Mets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we'll get more into this and more of your thoughts on the text line at 702-365-9200. Thanks again to Paul Gutierrez. What day 3 pick are you most intrigued about? Who could turn heads in training camp? And I'll come back with a story that came off CBS Sports about a particular day 3 player for the Raiders, who they have very high projections on in a backup role. We'll tell you who that is coming up next here on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Vince, Vinny, and Clay want to hear from you. Call or text the show at 702-365-9200. Now, back to the Morning Tailgate.
2-8, 0-6 in the league, but it's been a good week of practice as Washington puts down the shoulder and goes right into the end zone. He just trucked Michael Taft.
Now we're back here on the Morning Tailgate, Raider Nation Radio 920. Thanks to Paul Gutierrez from Raiders.com. Coming back with ESPN and a Mike Washington Jr. highlight. The Arkansas running back just running and trucking over dudes, whether it's Texas or Georgia Tech, it didn't matter. He had quite a year. Vinny and Clay here with you, and we're getting your thoughts at 702-365-9200. Which day 3 player do you think is it more intriguing and interesting to you and exciting to you as you look at what the rookies could do at this portion of camp and during training camp? What day 3 pick are you most intrigued about? And we're getting a lot of thoughts up on the text line, and one of them is coming up. We see Mike Washington's name back and forth on the text line at 702-365-9200. It reminded me of a story that came out on CBS Sports, and it was just in which they were taking a look at rookie running back rankings, and number 4 on ones that could have some impact during the year was Mike Washington Jr. And they noted that Ashton Genty had all but 41 of Las Vegas' running back carries last year. So they thought that maybe the proverbial wisdom was a new coaching staff maybe want to transfer some of that burden elsewhere, as Kubiak had the Seahawks with 2 running backs last year with 180-plus carries last season. They kind of project something for Washington as a role that could be there to help Genty, but also maybe even staying on the field longer. This offense could actually provide more impact for a rookie running back, more than we might realize in previous years.
Yeah, and I know that it's easy to look at what Clint did last year at Seattle, but he was also part of 49ers offenses where Christian McCaffrey was the guy, and whoever the backup running back was got to stand on the sidelines for most of the game, and that was that. And I would expect that Ashton Genty is going to be more of the workhorse Christian McCaffrey type of a player, and that's not taking anything away from Mike Washington. He's got an interesting background. Started his career at the University of Buffalo, redshirted his first year, played at Buffalo for 3 years before transferring to New Mexico State in 2024, 725 yards, 4.6 yards per carry at New Mexico State, and then the next year goes to Arkansas. That was the 2025 season, 167 carries for 10,000, just over 10,000 yards, 6.4 yards per carry. If you look at that was a career high carries for him. It averaged out just over 13 carries per game, and he was typically a 10 to 12 carry guy, a game player throughout the previous parts of his career. You contrast that with Ashton Genty in his last year at Boise State, averaged close to 27 carries per game. These are two different kind of running backs, especially in terms of their usage, but it does bode well for Mike, who is kind of a big hitter type of a guy. Didn't get a lot of volume carries throughout the course of his career, but last year, had a career year over 6 yards per carry. Previously to that, it was always in that 4 yards per carry range, just a little bit over 4 yards per carry range. So I'm not quite sure what exactly they're going to get from him. He's got a lot of speed. He's a bigger back. He's over 6'1", 6'2", 220 pounds or so. So he's a different looking running back than Ashton Genty. But it will be interesting to see what the role is. Is he a change of pace type of a guy? Is he a guy that just kind of spells Ashton Genty from time to time? Is there going to be a bigger role for him? He can definitely hit home runs. He did that at Arkansas. But again, he's not somebody that carried the ball. He wasn't a workhorse back like an Ashton Genty was at Boise State.
Yeah, even though he was Arkansas was running a wide zone concept, he was certainly kind of a scheme fit. The 4.33 speed is intriguing, and having some of that field vision is awesome. Also in the fact that maybe he might find more of a role in special teams. Maybe this is somebody that you could kind of see emerge, because last year, he was averaging 9.6 yards per carry beyond the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he, like I said, once he gets past the line of scrimmage, and once he makes that first line of defense miss, he's got a chance to do special things. But you are talking about a special running back in Ashton Genty, and there's going to have to be some real compelling reasons to take him off the field, and that's a good thing. That's why Ashton Genty was drafted where he was drafted. He's that kind of a dude, and so taking him off the field outside of a blow here or a blow there to keep him fresh. The Raiders are a team, and every offense is like this. You want your big guys out there as much as possible, because they're the guys that are difference makers, can tilt the field in your direction. And Ashton Genty is exactly that. The more you feed him, the more chances are that he's going to break a 40-yard run, a 50-yard run, or just really break the will of an opposing defense. It's why you want to get and that's the other part of it, is that you can throw to him. It's obvious that he's an accomplished and advanced pass catcher out of the backfield. So that's another reason why would you ever take him off the field unless it's just, like I said, get him some rest throughout the game. But there's a fine line in that, and I keep harping on what Christian McCaffrey said. You want to load manage me in practice. Figure out ways to do it there. In the game, I'm ready to play 100% of the snaps, and I want to play 100% of the snaps, and I guarantee you Ashton Genty is wired that way, and I I suspect that the coaches want him out there as much as possible too, because he is a lightning rod. He's a guy that can change games, and so no need to take him off the field unless there's, like I said, a very compelling reason to do so.
CBS Sports has a projection for Mike Washington Jr. It's to carry 97 times for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. All right, well, that seems like a lot, but I'm with you. I'd caution against trying to take one of your best players off the field if you don't necessarily have to. We were kind of lauding what Genty could be as a full season under Kubiak's scheme, that where the offensive line has improved. This is somebody that could be potentially in the making for an Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, looking right now at that could be feasible for him. Last year, Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, because I think this is the apt comparison. 17 games, 311 carries, 1,202 yards. Brian Robinson Jr., running back for the 49ers, carried the ball 92 times for 400 yards. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I do know that Clint Kubiak has a heart on running the ball, without a doubt. That's what he wants a lot of this offense to be about, and you throw off of that, and so that's part of his history, is literally what they do in San Francisco. So yeah, I could definitely see a 90 carry season for whoever that primary number 2 back is, if it's Mike Washington, and you're not losing anything in the balance out of your top dog, Christian McCaffrey, 311 carries. I don't even know that Ashton's going to get 311 carries. Although if he's healthy, why not? And also throw him the ball, because he can have that kind of an impact while leaving 90 carries out there for somebody else.
Keep listening. In a couple of minutes, we'll give away those tickets for the Totally Tubular Festival over at the Sahara Pool this Saturday, July 25th. Incredible festival going on. You don't want to miss it. We'll give away tickets here in about 3 minutes. From the text line, Raider Mike joining in. He just texts in and he says, I miss my Paisans, but I am most intrigued by Mike Washington. That guy before the draft had a lot of people grading him as a first-round pick. We stole him in the 4th round, but of course, McCoy, that dude I think is going to have the biggest deal and be the biggest deal in the draft at the end of the story. Thank you, Raider Mike, for that thought. Also we see people asking also about what could happen for somebody like Brandon Cleveland, who is like a 7th round pick, but also a big body that goes into a defensive line room that is still going to be fighting for certain pieces there. This is a guy that could emerge as a sleeper down the road, and maybe even just a very important piece on the practice squad.
Yeah, this feels like I think he makes the team. Obviously he's got to prove it in training camp, but I do think he makes the team because he does have that profile, that wide-bodied, big-bodied profile that you're looking for a typical nose tackle in a 3-4 defense. We'll see how much the Raiders actually play that, or if that got overplayed a little bit. But he feels like one of those kind of red shirt guys. You just keep developing them, getting them stronger, getting them on the right kind of NFL diet and all that for some future payoff down the line. But again, it's training camp. Everybody, there's an open slate for everybody. There isn't one coach on the staff that's approaching training camp with his mind closed to any possibility. You cannot do that as a coach. You have to judge everybody based on what you see. Don't bring subjectivity into it. Be objective and be objective to everybody, whether they were your first pick or your 7th round pick or an undrafted free agent. Let the best man win, and I know that good coaches, and this is a good coaching staff, understands that, and that's the rules that they play by. Otherwise, you cannot look somebody in the eye in your locker room and say one thing and then act another way. Players will figure that out pretty quick. So if it's Cleveland or anybody else that flashes and that proves that they're ready to play or should be on this team or have a role on this team or have a starting job on this team, it's going to be earned. And I think that's a great thing. And I think every coach in the building and every scout and every general manager and everybody in the front office, everybody that has a voice in these decisions on who's ultimately going to be on the roster and who on this roster are going to play big roles are approaching this with a total open mind, as you should.
One last name we haven't brought up and we didn't see on the text was Dalton Johnson. Sometimes sometimes when teams will trade to go and get a guy and draft them, I always kind of feel like in the back of my mind, like they have a plan for somebody. And Dalton Johnson is someone that, hey, a first team all Big 12, but we know that he's a versatile guy. He played nickel, he can play strong and free safety, and coming over from Arizona, joining Stooks.
Yeah, and I think the good thing, too, with the Raiders right now is, you have veteran players at those positions. So it's not like you have to, got to get Dalton out there just because we don't have anybody else. That's not the issue right now or the situation right now. So another player that has what could be a promising future, definitely a whole bunch of tools in the tool chest, comes in with a lot of experience, just as Traden Stooks does. But it doesn't have to be a rushed situation. And he can, again, if he earns a bigger role or a role or whatever role that he does earn, that's going to be available to him. But you start getting to a point where everybody looks promising. All these rookies, that's not really realistic in terms of, and you don't necessarily want it to be where you're overly relying on your draft picks. I brought up the example of McClendon, the now Rams right tackle. He barely played his first couple of years coming out of college. There was a guy by the name of Rob Havenstein that was their right tackle, but he didn't waste his time playing behind him during those first couple of years, and the Rams certainly didn't waste their time in terms of developing him, so that when the time came, and that time came last year, Big Rob gets hurt and he misses a big chunk of the season. They got to put the young kid in there, and guess what? He becomes one of the better right tackles in the game. Why? Because he used his time wisely. They used his time and their time wisely in the couple of years that he was on the development track. So that's kind of ideally what you want from some of these, especially these third-day picks or mid-range picks, is that, hey, we're not in a situation where we have to put you out on the field right now because we are in dire straits. We've got a good, solid roster, some good solid players in front of you. That's not the case for every position, obviously, but in the most cases, thanks to the work that the Raiders have done the last couple of years in drafting and free agency this year, there aren't a whole lot of pressing needs. Like, we got to get this guy out on the field because we really don't have any other alternatives. So in a guy like Dalton Johnson and many others, there's a plan in place to bring them along slowly, not slowly, but you know what I'm saying, like put the necessary time into them, and hopefully when the time comes that you need to play them, whether it's because of an injury or because a guy left as a free agent and now that guy graduated to a starting role, they're going to be ready to contribute and ready to play. That's ideally kind of how it all works. Now, off the top of my head, I think there's a couple of positions where they need somebody to really perform, and that's probably that cornerback spot. Yeah. Whether it's Darian Porter, who's also a young player, or Jamad McCoy or Zeke Massis, that's a situation where they got to find somebody that's ready to take that job over. But as I look at the rest of the defense, I don't really necessarily see that, where a guy has to win the job or else the Raiders are in serious trouble, even at safety. And I do believe that Traden Stooks is going to play a lot, and he's going to play a lot early, and he's going to earn it. But even in his case, it's not like if he's not ready, you have to put him out there even if he's not ready, because they do have safeties on this football team that have played good football over the years.
We'll clear the phone lines for you to get a chance to win these tickets over at the Sahara Pool for the Totally Tubular Festival. It takes place Saturday night, July 25th. We have a pair of tickets here at Lotus that you need to pick up. Be caller number 9 at 702-365-9200. Flock of Seagulls, Animotion, Escape Club, Tommy Two-Tone, Thomas Dolby. It's an incredible festival of great 80s bands from the new wave era. Be caller 9 at 702-365-9200. It's Raider Nation Radio, the Morning Tailgate.
This is the Morning Tailgate.
Oh, Paisan. Oh! Back up. I'll talk to him about it. I've been telling you for months now this guy's no good. I want to sit down. All right. Answer the phone. I want to sit down.
Hey! On Raider Nation Radio 920.
Oh!
What's up, guys? Fernando Mendoza. I'm excited to get this thing signed. Excited to be a part of the Silver and Black. Can't wait. Appreciate you guys' all support. Let's get this thing rolling.
All right, Vinny, that's Fernando Mendoza as the deal is finally done.
Yeah, wasn't worried whatsoever. I think we talked yesterday that an announcement was going to be coming here between yesterday and today, and it officially happened today. Don't know all the details of the contract. Quite frankly, don't care. It's the same amount of money one way or another. They got it all sorted out, I'm sure, on the signing bonus and all the other bells and whistles. But the fact of the matter is, now you can officially start the countdown on when Fernando Mendoza officially becomes or takes over as the quarterback of the Raiders. He's in the fold. The deal is 4 years guaranteed. Obviously, the fifth-year option that all first-round picks have available to them. We'll see down the road whether that's picked up or if he signs a long-term extension long before that. The Raiders, I'm sure, would hope that is the case. That means that he's on his way. They're on their way. But didn't miss any days. Rookies reported today. He signed on the dotted line, so he's not going to miss any time, and he'll be there waiting for Kirk Cousins next week when the veterans show up and let the competition begin.
Yeah, and this is now put to rest, and he can just focus on football now, and thankfully for it, because this is the time of the year where you don't need to worry about anything lingering over, and that did never seem the case, even when they were scouting and eventually drafting Fernando Mendoza.
No, this was just one of those deals where you just got to get it sorted out, and deadlines are usually met. I wasn't worried that he was going to miss any time. I don't think that he wants to have that happen. I know the Raiders don't want to have that happen. So now that it's officially over, though, Raider Nation can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief and start getting after it. The rookies will be on the field here pretty soon, and the veterans will be joining them pretty soon, and away we go.
All right, Fernando Mendoza, officially a Raider, as rookies are in camp right now at Raiders HQ. Keep it right here to Raider Nation Radio 920, as we will be having JT the Brick from 12 to 2, Q Myers 2 to 5, with more on this and updates from what we hear from camp and talking about the future with Fernando Mendoza. For Vince, for Vinny, I'm Clay. Have a great day, everybody. Westwood One's Black and Abdallah is next.